Introduction. All right, team. So you know those days when you wake up feeling like you've already run a marathon even before your first cup of coffee? Or when brain fog descends in the afternoon and you can't for the life of you remember that super important thing you were just about to do? I've been there more times than I'd like to admit. For the longest time, I just thought, well, this is adulting, right? Being tired is the default setting. Then I stumbled upon a book that completely flipped my perspective on its head. Good Energy, The Surprising Connection Between Metabolism and Limitless Health by Dr. Casey Means. And let me tell you, this isn't just another wellness book to add to your ever-growing stack. This is a game changer. Dr. Means, a Stanford-trained physician, essentially hands us the user manual for our own bodies that we never knew we were missing. The core idea is both simple and revolutionary. Most of our health problems, from the annoying, like fatigue and acne, to the downright scary, like heart disease and diabetes, stem from bad energy. This isn't some woo-woo concept. It's what's happening inside our 37 trillion cells, specifically in our mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses that convert our food into energy. When they're not happy, nobody's happy. But here's the empowering bit. We have way more control than we think. So let's break down the book chapter by chapter and see how we can all start cultivating some of that good energy. Part 1. The truth about energy. Chapter 1. Siloed health versus energy-centric health. Dr. Means kicks things off by sharing her own journey as a surgeon, where she had a crisis of conscience. She was treating symptoms in isolation, a pill for this, a procedure for that, without really ever getting to the root of the problem. Sound familiar? It's what she calls siloed health. She argues for a shift to energy-centric health. Instead of seeing acne, anxiety, and weight gain as separate issues, what if they're all just different branches of the same tree? A tree with roots in metabolic dysfunction. It's a total paradigm shift. Instead of playing whack-a-mole with symptoms, we can go straight to the power source. Chapter 2. Bad energy is the root of disease. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty science, but in a way that's surprisingly easy to follow. Bad energy is essentially a cellular traffic jam. Our modern world, with its ultra-processed foods, lack of movement, and chronic stress, is basically throwing roadblocks in front of our mitochondria. The result? Inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance. The trifecta behind most chronic diseases. The incredible insight here is that conditions that seem worlds apart, like depression and type 2 diabetes, could share a common metabolic root cause. Chapter 3. Trust yourself, not your doctor. Now, this chapter title might sound a bit controversial, but it's not about ditching your doctor. It's about becoming an active participant in your own health journey. Dr. Means points out that the normal ranges on our blood tests aren't necessarily the optimal ones. She encourages us to get curious, to track our own biomarkers, which we'll get into later, and to listen to the signals our bodies are sending us. We live in an age where we can monitor our own metabolic health from home. That's an incredible superpower. Part 2, creating good energy. This is the part of the book where the real magic happens. We move from understanding the problem to actively fixing it with practical evidence-based strategies. Chapter 4, Your Body Has the Answers, How to Read Your Blood Tests and Get. This chapter is all about becoming a bit of a data nerd with your own health. Dr. Means breaks down the key blood tests you should be looking at and, more importantly, what the optimal numbers are. We're talking triglycerides, fasting glucose, and more. For example, while a normal triglyceride level is under 150 milligrams per deciliter, she points out that people with levels under 81 milligrams per deciliter have a 50% lower cardiovascular risk. It's all about moving from just not being sick to truly thriving. Chapters on the pillars of good energy: food, movement, sleep, and stress. The subsequent chapters are deep dives into the core pillars of a metabolically healthy life. Food. This isn't about subscribing to a strict diet like vegan or keto. Instead, Dr. Means lays out 6 core principles for eating that work for everyone. The main takeaway? Ditch the unholy trinity of ultra-processed foods, refined seed oils, grains, and sugars. Focus on real whole foods that your great-grandmother would recognize. Think of every meal as a chance to either give your mitochondria a helping hand or a pile of extra work. Movement. Forget punishing yourself in the gym for hours. The key is just to move more throughout the day. Dr. Means is a big fan of MEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's a fancy way of saying all the calories you burn from activities like walking, doing chores, and fidgeting at your desk. It turns out this can have a massive impact on your metabolism. Sleep. If you've ever felt sluggish and foggy after a bad night's sleep, you've experienced the link between sleep and metabolic health firsthand. Even a single hour of sleep deprivation can increase inflammation. The book provides actionable tips for improving your sleep hygiene, which is foundational to good energy. Stress management. Chronic stress is like a silent saboteur of your metabolism. Dr. Means explains how stress hormones can throw your blood sugar out of whack. The book offers practical techniques for managing stress, from mindfulness to spending time in nature. The 4-week Good Energy Plan. To tie it all together, the book culminates in a practical 4-week plan. This isn't a restrictive boot camp. It's about gently and sustainably building healthy habits. By the end of the 4 weeks, the goal is to have a whole new perspective on your health and to have experienced the incredible feeling of what it's like to have good energy. Final thoughts. A new way of thinking about health. What I love most about Good Energy is its message of hope and empowerment. It moves us away from a place of fear and confusion about our health to a place of agency. We don't have to be passive bystanders in our own well-being. As Dr. Means says, it's actually not that complicated to be healthy. By understanding and supporting our mitochondria, we can unlock a level of vitality we might not have thought was possible. So if you're ready to ditch the fatigue, clear the brain fog, and tap into your body's full potential, I can't recommend this book enough. It's not just about adding years to your life, but more importantly, adding life to your years. And that, my friends, is a pretty epic way to live.
Part 1. The Truth About Energy. Chapter 1. Siloed Health versus Energy-Centric Health. All right, team, welcome. So picture this. You're in your early 20s, you've somehow managed to get into medical school, which, let's be honest, is a whole vibe of its own, and you're surrounded by some of the smartest people you'll ever meet. You're learning about the incredible intricacies of the human body, from the complex dance of cardiac electrophysiology to the beautiful, beautiful Krebs cycle. I know, I'm a nerd. The prevailing wisdom, the very foundation of my medical training, was what Dr. Casey Means in her, frankly, game-changing book, Good Energy, calls siloed health. It's a bit like being a very specialized mechanic. Got a problem with the brakes? You go to the brake specialist. Engine trouble? See the engine guy. The dermatologist looks at your skin, the cardiologist looks at your heart, the gastroenterologist, well, you get the picture. And for a long time, that made perfect sense to me. You have a headache? You take a painkiller. You have high cholesterol? You take a statin. You've got acne? Here's a cream. We were masters of diagnosis and prescription, playing a high-stakes game of whack-a-mole with symptoms. A mole pops up, you whack it with a pharmaceutical hammer. Done. Next patient, please. But then, as you go through life, you start to see the cracks in this model. Maybe you notice it in your family members, your friends, or even yourself. That pesky eczema keeps coming back. The unexplained fatigue is a constant companion. The brain fog feels less like a weather condition and more like a permanent state of being. You're whacking the moles, but the machine itself seems to be fundamentally glitchy. You're treating the what, but nobody's really asking why. This is where Dr. Means drops an absolute bombshell of a concept that honestly should be taught in the first year of medical school: energy-centric health. And look, I know what you might be thinking. Energy, Ollie? Are we getting into crystals and auras now? Stick with me here, because this is grounded in hard science, and it's one of the most powerful mindset shifts I've come across in years. The idea is breathtakingly simple, yet completely revolutionary. What if all these seemingly unrelated problems, the skin issues, the mood swings, the digestive troubles, the afternoon slumps, aren't separate issues at all? what if they're all just different warning lights flashing on the same dashboard? And what is that dashboard monitoring? The energy efficiency of your body. Dr. Means argues that instead of obsessing over individual symptoms, we should zoom out and focus on the one process that underpins everything: how effectively our cells create and use energy. Think about it. Your brain needs a colossal amount of energy to think clearly. Your immune system needs energy to fight off invaders. Your muscles need energy to, well, move. Every single function in your body is fundamentally an energy transaction. When you switch your perspective to an energy-centric one, the whole game changes. You stop asking, what cream can I use for this rash? And you start asking, why might my body be expressing this inflammation on my skin? And how is that related to my energy systems? It's like trying to run a multi-billion-dollar company where every department is complaining. Sales are down, marketing is struggling, product development is slow. The siloed approach would be to send a different consultant to each department to fix their individual problems. The energy-centric CEO, however, would look at the company's cash flow, the energy that powers every single department. If there's no money in the bank, or it's being used incredibly inefficiently, then of course every department is going to struggle. The core takeaway from this first crucial chapter is this: stop being the symptom-whacking mechanic of your own body and start being the CEO of your personal energy. This isn't just about feeling a bit more peppy. It's the radical idea that by optimizing the foundational process of energy production in our cells, we can resolve the root cause of countless health niggles and chronic diseases that we've been told are just inevitable as part of getting older. It's an invitation to shift from a reactive state of fixing problems to a proactive state of cultivating vitality. And that, my friends, is an upgrade worth making. It's the first step to unlocking a level of physical and mental performance you probably didn't even know was available to you. Let's get into it. Chapter 2: Bad energy is the root of disease. Okay, so in the last chapter, we set the stage. We've hopefully all agreed to fire ourselves from the thankless job of being a symptom whacker and have accepted the new, much cooler title of CEO of our personal energy. Fantastic. Great work, team. But now we need to understand the enemy. If we're going to create good energy, we first have to get intimately familiar with its evil twin, bad energy. Now, back in med school, when we learned about diseases like type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, we learned them in separate lectures from separate textbooks, taught by professors in separate departments. They were presented as completely distinct, unrelated beasts. You learned the unique pathway for each, the different diagnostic criteria, the specific cocktail of drugs to prescribe. Chapter 2 of Good Energy walks onto the stage, taps the microphone, and politely informs us that we've been looking at it all wrong. It's a bit like realizing that the villains in 10 different movies are all secretly working for the same shadowy mastermind. Dr. Means argues that these seemingly disparate diseases are often just different manifestations of the exact same underlying problem: metabolic dysfunction. This is the technical, sciencey term for bad energy. And this dysfunction is driven by a nasty, interconnected gang of three, which she calls the trifecta of bad energy. Let's break them down. I promise this will be painless and far more interesting than your high school biology class. The nasty trifecta of bad energy. Insulin resistance. Okay, imagine insulin is your incredibly enthusiastic flatmate. Its job is to knock on the door of your cells and say, "Hey, I've brought some glucose, energy from that sandwich you just ate. Please let it in." In a healthy body, the cell hears the knock, opens the door, and takes the glucose. Simple. But what happens if you're constantly bombarding your body with sugar and processed carbs? Your enthusiastic flatmate starts knocking on the door all the time, every hour, every minute. Eventually, your poor cell gets so sick of the constant knocking that it puts on noise-canceling headphones and starts ignoring the pleas. That is insulin resistance. The cell becomes resistant to the signal of insulin. The glucose gets left outside, floating around in the bloodstream, where it causes all sorts of trouble. Chronic inflammation. We usually think of inflammation as a good thing. You sprain your ankle, it gets red, swollen, and warm. That's your immune system rushing to the scene to clean up the mess and start repairs. It's a temporary, targeted, and life-saving process. Chronic inflammation, however, is like that sprained ankle never healing. It's a low-grade, simmering fire that's burning throughout your body all the time. This isn't your body heroically fighting an injury. It's a state of constant, misdirected alert. This smoky, inflammatory environment damages our tissues, our blood vessels, and our DNA. It's the biological equivalent of trying to work productively while a low, annoying fire alarm is going off in the background forever. Oxidative stress. Let's stick with the analogies. Think of your mitochondria, those little power plants in your cells, as tiny engines. When they burn fuel, food, to create energy, ATP, they produce exhaust fumes, just like a car engine. These fumes are called free radicals. In small amounts, our body has antioxidants to clean them up. No big deal. But when our mitochondria are overworked and sputtering, thanks to a poor diet and lifestyle, they spew out way more of this toxic exhaust. This overload is called oxidative stress. What does it do? The same thing oxygen does to metal over time. It causes rust. Oxidative stress is literally your cells rusting from the inside out. Ouch! Connecting the dots to disease. Now here's the absolute masterclass of this chapter. Dr. Means brilliantly shows how this trifecta, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and oxidative stress is the common root cause of so many chronic conditions. High levels of glucose floating around from insulin resistance damage the lining of your blood vessels, which your body patches up with cholesterol, leading to heart disease. That same inflammation in the brain is now heavily linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. They're even starting to call it type 3 diabetes. That cellular rust, oxidative stress can damage DNA, which can contribute to cancer. You see, they're not separate villains. They're all the same monster, just wearing a different costume depending on which part of the body it decides to haunt. The key lesson here isn't to be scared. It's to be empowered. We've been told these major diseases are complex, genetic, or just bad luck. But what if they're not? What if they are largely the downstream consequence of a foundational energy crisis? This is incredible news because it means we don't need 20 different strategies to avoid 20 different diseases. We need one. We just need to figure out how to stop that trifecta of badness, fix our metabolic health at the source, and put out the fire. And that is exactly what the rest of the book is about.
Chapter 3. Trust yourself, not your doctor. All right, team. Let's have a quick chat about something that might feel a little spicy. For years, as a junior doctor working in the UK's National Health Service, my life revolved around a 10-minute timer. A patient comes in, you have roughly 10 minutes to listen to their story, formulate a differential diagnosis, perhaps do a quick physical exam, come up with a management plan, write a prescription, and type up your notes before the next person walks through the door. It is a system that, by necessity, runs on efficiency, pattern recognition, and, let's be honest, a fair bit of symptom whacking. In that environment, you become incredibly good at finding the right box to put a problem in. You're a professional problem solver, but you're solving the immediate problem, the one that's screaming the loudest. You're not always, and
often can't be, the detective that gets to spend weeks investigating the complex web of lifestyle, nutrition, and stress that led to the problem in the first place. This is the context you need to understand when you read the title of Chapter 3, which is, and I quote, "Trust yourself, not your doctor." Whoa, okay, deep breaths. As a doctor myself, I can feel the initial knee-jerk reaction to that. It sounds radical, maybe even irresponsible. But Dr. Means is not telling you to fire your doctor and go live in a yurt, self-diagnosing with Google and tree bark. Please don't do that. The message is far more subtle and I think far more profound. This chapter is a declaration of independence. It's about fundamentally shifting the power dynamic in your own health journey. For most of modern history, the doctor-patient relationship has been paternalistic. The doctor, the all-knowing expert, sits on high and dispenses wisdom to the passive patient. The very word patient implies passivity, someone to whom things are done. Dr. Means argues that this model is broken, especially when it comes to chronic disease. The current healthcare system is, unfortunately, built around profitable symptom management rather than addressing root causes. It's often more time efficient and financially incentivized to prescribe a pill for high blood pressure than it is to provide hours of nutritional counseling to reverse the metabolic dysfunction that's causing it. It's a systemic issue, not a fault of individual doctors who are mostly doing their best in a flawed framework. The central message of this chapter is a call to action. You must graduate from being a passive patient to being the CEO of your own health. Your doctor is an incredibly valuable, highly trained consultant that you hire for their expertise. But you are the one in charge. You are the one who lives in your body 24/7. This means you need to start trusting your own data. We've all been there. You go to the doctor and say, "I just feel off. I'm tired all the time. I have brain fog. My digestion is weird." You get some blood tests done, and the doctor calls back and says, "Good news. Everything's normal." But it doesn't feel normal. Normal on a lab report just means you're not in the statistical red zone for outright disease. It doesn't mean you're in the optimal zone for peak performance and vitality. This feeling of being off is data. Your body signals are the most important data set you have. This chapter empowers you to treat them as such. The lesson here is to become the primary advocate for your own health. It means questioning things. It means when a doctor suggests a lifelong medication, you have the right to ask, okay, what's the goal here? Are we managing a symptom, or can we work on reversing the underlying cause? What are the lifestyle changes I could make that might impact this? It's about a fundamental mindset shift. You are no longer just a passenger on this journey. You are the driver. You're the one holding the map. And by trusting your own intuition and becoming an empowered, informed participant, you can make decisions that go beyond just managing sickness and actually start building a foundation for incredible, boundless, good energy.
Part 2. Creating Good Energy. Chapter 4. Your body has the answers. All right, team, so we've shifted our mindset. We're no longer passive patients. We are the confident, empowered CEOs of our own health. We understand the enemy is bad energy and the nasty trifecta behind it. The question is, what now? How do we actually start managing the company of You Inc.? Well, any good CEO will tell you that you can't manage what you don't measure. You wouldn't try to run a business without looking at your revenue, profit, and cash flow statements, right? Doing so would be, for want of a better word, insane. Yet, for the most part, that's exactly how we run our own bodies. We operate on vague feelings like, I feel a bit tired today, until a major warning light flashes and we have to call in the emergency services. This is where Chapter 4, Your Body Has the Answers, comes in. And honestly, this is where things get really, really cool. This chapter is the practical guide to becoming your own health detective. It's about ditching the guesswork and starting to collect cold, hard data on what's actually happening inside your body. Hacking your lab report.
from normal to optimal. Let's start with a classic scenario. You get your annual physical, they run some blood work, and your doctor emails you, "Great news, your labs are all normal. See you next year." You breathe a sigh of relief, but a part of you is thinking, "But I still feel kind of rubbish. Why don't I feel normal?" Dr. Means brilliantly exposes the flaw in this system. A normal range on a lab report is typically a statistical average of the population. And let's be real, the average population is becoming increasingly metabolically unhealthy. So being normal just means you're not actively in the diagnosable disease club. Yet. It's like your car mechanic saying, "Well, the check engine light isn't on, so you're fine," while ignoring the fact the engine is making a weird rattling sound and spewing smoke. This chapter teaches us to look for the optimal ranges. It provides practical guidance on how to interpret key blood test results to understand your metabolic health. For example, it's not just about your cholesterol being in range, it's about looking at your triglyceride to HDL ratio. It's about understanding that while a fasting glucose of 99 milligrams per deciliter might be considered normal, a truly optimal and healthy person's will likely be much lower, in the 70s or 80s. The goal here isn't to get a medical degree online. It's to understand a few key biomarkers that serve as the main KPIs, key performance indicators, for your health. By tracking these numbers year over year, you can see the trends. You can spot a problem when it's a tiny wisp of smoke, long before it becomes a raging inferno. Now, if analyzing blood tests is like getting a quarterly business report, then the world of wearable technology is like having a real-time, 24/7 dashboard of your body's performance. And this, my friends, is a superpower that previous generations would have thought was pure science fiction. Dr. Means highlights how devices like continuous glucose monitors, CGMs, can be absolute game changers. For a long time, these were only used by people with diabetes, but now they're available to anyone who wants to understand how their body responds to food. A CGM is a tiny sensor that gives you a second-by-second data stream of your blood sugar levels. What does this mean in practice? It means you can do your own experiments. You can finally settle the debate. Which breakfast is better for you? The healthy bowl of oatmeal or the eggs and avocado? You eat the oatmeal, you look at your phone, and you see your glucose shoot up to the moon and then crash an hour later. Hello, 11 a.m. slump. The next day, you eat the eggs and you see a gentle, stable curve. That's not just information, that is a life-changing, actionable insight. The main takeaway from this chapter is that your body is constantly talking to you. It's sending you signals and data every single second. For centuries, we were deaf to most of them. Now, with the tools to interpret our blood work optimally and leverage wearable tech, we can finally start to listen. By monitoring these biomarkers, you can proactively identify and address potential health risks before they ever get the chance to escalate. You are now the detective, and your body is providing you with all the clues. You have the tools. It's time to solve the case of how to build your own good energy.
Chapter 5, The 6 Principles of Good Energy Eating. All right, let's talk about food. Gosh, is there anything more confusing in the 21st century than what we're supposed to be eating? It's a minefield out there. One corner of the internet is telling you to go full keto and that a single banana will derail your entire life. Another corner is screaming that you need to be a raw vegan and that animal protein is the devil. You've got carnivore, paleo, Mediterranean. It feels less like nutritional science and more like a religious war. For years, I was just completely bewildered, flitting between different approaches, never really knowing what the right answer was. This is where Dr. Means, our CEO of Health Guide, steps in and does something utterly brilliant. She doesn't hand you another dogmatic, restrictive diet plan. She doesn't tell you to join Team Vegan or Team Keto. Instead, she gives you the first principles of eating, a simple, flexible operating system that works for everyone, because it's not based on dogma, it's based on the simple question, what do my mitochondria actually want? Chapter 5, The 6 Principles of Good Energy Eating, is about feeding those 37 trillion tiny powerhouses so they can do their job properly. If you get this right, so much of the other stuff just falls into place. The genius here is that this isn't about restriction, it's about foundation. So let's ditch the diet wars and focus on the core principles. Principle 1, get the poison out. Before you even think about what to add to your diet, you need to remove the things that are actively gumming up the works. Dr. Means points to 3 main culprits that are, frankly, a metabolic nightmare for our mitochondria. I like to call them the unholy trinity of bad energy. Refined grains and sugars. Think bread, pasta, pastries, sodas, and anything with added sugar. These things send your blood glucose on a wild roller coaster, forcing your insulin to work overtime and leading directly to that insulin resistance we talked about. They are, for your mitochondria, the equivalent of pouring cheap sugary sludge into a high-performance engine. Refined seed oils. This is a sneaky one. We're talking about vegetable, canola, soy, corn, and sunflower oils. They're in everything, from salad dressings to oat milk to restaurant-cooked food. These oils are highly processed and unstable, and they are a major driver of oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. They are cellular rust, pure and simple. Processed foods. This is the catch-all. If it comes in a crinkly packet with a list of ingredients you can't pronounce, it's probably not great for your mitochondria. These food-like products are engineered to be hyperpalatable and are usually a delivery vehicle for the other 2 members of the unholy trinity. Just focusing on ruthlessly eliminating these 3 things is, by itself, a total game changer. The positive principles: build your plate intelligently. Okay, so we've taken out the trash. What do we actually eat? This is the fun part, and it's simpler than you think. Build your plate around protein. Protein is the hero nutrient. It's essential for building muscle, which is a fantastic sink for glucose. It's incredibly satiating, so you feel full and don't overeat. And it has a minimal impact on your blood sugar. Whether your protein comes from a steak or a lentil, prioritizing it is key. Embrace healthy fats. Fat is not the enemy. Good fats from avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, and quality animal products are crucial for hormone production and are a clean, stable source of energy for your body. They're like the premium long-burn fuel for your cellular engines. Eat the rainbow of plants. Load up on non-starchy vegetables and low-sugar fruits. They are packed with fiber, which is great for your gut and slows glucose absorption, and polyphenols, which are antioxidants that help clean up that cellular rust from oxidative stress. Think of them as the maintenance and cleaning crew for your mitochondria. That's it. That's the core of the system. Notice she doesn't say, you must eat X grams of carbs, or you must fast for 18 hours. This framework allows for incredible flexibility. You can apply these principles whether you're vegan, paleo, or anything in between. A vegan can build a plate around lentils, protein, with avocado and olive oil, healthy fats, and a mountain of leafy greens, plants. A paleo can do the same with salmon, nuts, and broccoli. The lesson is liberating. You don't need a complicated name diet to have incredible metabolic health. You just need to get the poison out and load up on the real whole foods that have nourished humans for millennia. This isn't a diet. It's a nutritional operating system. And that, my friends, is a powerful and sustainable recipe for good energy.
Chapter 6, Creating a Good Energy Meal. All right, team, let's be honest for a second. There's a massive, and I mean massive, gap between knowing what you're supposed to do and actually, doing it. It's like learning to code. You can watch a dozen YouTube tutorials on Python, you can understand the theory of for loops and if statements, but the moment you're staring at a blank screen and told to build something, a special kind of terror sets in. The theory is comfortable, the practice is where the rubber meets the road. It's the exact same thing with nutrition. We've just covered the 6 foundational principles of good energy eating. It all sounds great in theory, right? Avoid the unholy trinity, build your plate around protein, embrace fats, eat the rainbow. Awesome. Got it. But now it's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're tired, you open the fridge, and it's just a random collection of vegetables, some leftover chicken, and a jar of something that might be pesto. All of that beautiful theory evaporates, and the siren song of a Deliveroo pizza starts to sound pretty darn appealing. This, my friends, is why Chapter 6, Creating a Good Energy Meal, is the absolute clutch MVP chapter of this whole section. It closes the gap between theory and reality. It's the practical, just tell me what to do guide that we all secretly crave. It offers straightforward guidance on how to actually construct meals that will keep your blood sugar stable and make your mitochondria sing. Dr. Means doesn't give you a bunch of fussy, complicated recipes that require a culinary degree. Instead, she gives you a simple, repeatable template, a system. And you know how much I love systems. The Good Energy Plate Formula. Think of your plate as a blank canvas. Forget calories, forget macros for a second. Just follow this simple order of operations every single time you build a meal. Step 1. Anchor with protein. Fill about 1/4 of your plate. This is your first move, always. Why? Because as we learned, protein is the king of satiety and blood sugar stability. By starting with protein, you ensure your meal is built on a solid, stabilizing foundation. You're telling your body, don't worry, I've got you. There's no blood sugar roller coaster today. Your options are endless. A palm-sized portion of grilled chicken or salmon, 2 or 3 scrambled eggs, a generous scoop of lentils or chickpeas, a block of tofu. Whatever your preference, make protein the star of the show. Step 2. Add non-starchy vegetables. Fill about half of your plate. Now for the fun part, color. Once your protein is anchored, your next job is to absolutely pile on the non-starchy vegetables. Think of this as hiring the cleaning and maintenance crew for your mitochondria. We're talking about all the good stuff. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and rocket. Cruciferous veg like broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts. Colorful options like bell peppers, zucchini, asparagus, and mushrooms. Roast them, steam them, sauté them, or eat them raw. The goal is diversity and volume. They provide fiber to slow down any glucose release and a boatload of antioxidants to fight that cellular rust. Step 3. Finish with healthy fats. Add 1 to 2 servings. This is the step that makes your meal delicious and keeps you full for hours. Healthy fats are your friend. They are the premium, long-burning log on your metabolic fire. This isn't about drenching your food, but about being intentional. Drizzle your veggies with extra virgin olive oil. Add a 1/4 or half an avocado to the side. Sprinkle a handful of nuts or seeds on the top. Use a dollop of full-fat Greek yogurt or a piece of cheese. Putting it all together, a tale of 2 breakfasts. Let's see the system in action. Bad energy breakfast. A bowl of heart-healthy oatmeal with a banana and a glass of orange juice. This is a carbohydrate bomb. It will spike your glucose, trigger a huge insulin release, and leave you crashing and craving snacks by 10:30 a.m. Good energy breakfast. 3 eggs, protein, scrambled with a huge handful of spinach and mushrooms, cooked in butter or olive oil, with half an avocado on the side, more healthy fat. Can you feel the difference? This meal is a metabolic powerhouse. It will provide a slow, steady release of energy that will keep you focused, full, and thriving all morning. The takeaway lesson from this chapter is that eating for good energy doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to be a Michelin star chef. You just need a system. By following the simple protein, veggies, fat template, you remove decision fatigue and make the healthy choice the easy choice. You're building a meal on autopilot that serves your biology, and that is one of the best productivity hacks on the planet.
Chapter 7. Respecting your biological clock. All right, team, let's talk about hustle culture for a minute. For years, I wore sleep deprivation like a badge of honor. As a junior doctor, it was a given. As a YouTuber trying to build a channel, pulling all-nighters to edit a video felt heroic. The mantra was, you can sleep when you're dead. We saw our bodies as machines that we could simply command to work whenever we wanted. Wake up at 5 a.m., work until 2 a.m., fueled by caffeine and sheer willpower. We thought we were being productive. In reality, we were being idiots. We were ignoring one of the most powerful,
ancient and deeply ingrained forces in our biology, a force so fundamental that it governs virtually every living thing on this planet, from a humble bacterium to a blue whale. And this is the focus of Chapter 7, Respecting Your Biological Clock. If the previous chapters were about the what of good energy, the fuel, the cellular machinery, this chapter is all about the when. And frankly, it's a profound, game-changing piece of the puzzle that most of us completely disregard. The symphony of your cells. Dr. Means wants us to stop thinking of our bodies as 24/7 convenience stores, always open and ready for business. Instead, she invites us to think of our body as a magnificent, perfectly coordinated symphony orchestra. Every organ, every hormone, every cell in your body is a musician. Your liver cells are the string section, your digestive system is the percussion, and your hormones are the brass. And crucially, your mitochondria, those little energy powerhouses, are the musicians in every single section. Now, what does every world-class orchestra need? A conductor. In your body, the conductor is your circadian rhythm, or your biological clock. It's a master clock located in a part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. You don't need to remember that. Just know it exists. This conductor has a score, a 24-hour symphony, and it tells every single musician when to play, when to rest, and how loud to play. During the day, it tells your body to be in go mode. It tells your muscles to be ready for action, your brain to be alert, and your digestive system to be prepared for food. At night, it waves its baton for rest and repair mode. It tells your brain to clean out cellular waste, your body to ramp up repair processes, and crucially, your digestive system to go on a well-deserved break. When the conductor gets confused. The problem with modern life is that we are constantly sending confusing signals to our conductor. We blast our eyes with bright blue light from our phones late at night. This is like a rogue audience member shining a spotlight in the conductor's face during a quiet flute solo. The conductor gets confused and thinks, wait, is it daytime? Should the trumpets be playing? We eat a huge meal at 11 p.m. This is like telling the percussion section, who have already packed up their drums and are heading home, to come back and play a thunderous drum solo. They're exhausted, they do a terrible job, and the whole orchestra is thrown into disarray. When this happens night after night, the result is metabolic chaos. Your insulin sensitivity plummets, the flute section ignores its cues. Inflammation rises, the violins play a screeching, angry tune, and your overall energy levels tank. You're asking your mitochondria to work when they're programmed to rest, leading to inefficient energy production and more of that cellular rust. How to resync your orchestra, the practical takeaways. The good news is that our conductor is very willing to get back on track if we just give it the right cues. Prioritize light exposure. Light is the main signal for your biological clock. The single most powerful thing you can do is get 10 to 15 minutes of direct sunlight first thing in the morning, without sunglasses. This is like the conductor firing a starting pistol to let every musician know the symphony has begun. Conversely, dim the lights and avoid blue light screens in the 2 to 3 hours before bed. Create a sleep ritual. Sleep is not a luxury, it's the non-negotiable systems reboot. Going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time every day, even on weekends, is the most powerful way to support your conductor. This is the scheduled intermission that allows the whole orchestra to rest and reset. Be mindful of meal timing. This is a huge one. Try to eat your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. Giving your digestive system this downtime is one of the kindest things you can do for your metabolism. This is called time-restricted eating, and it's not about starving yourself, it's about respecting the score. It's allowing the percussion section to have their scheduled rest. The key lesson of this chapter is to stop fighting a multi-million-year-old biological reality. You can't hustle your way out of your circadian rhythm. The real productivity hack isn't another cup of coffee at midnight. It's working with your biology, not against it. By respecting your internal clock, you create a state of metabolic harmony that unlocks a level of effortless, vibrant energy you might not have felt since you were a kid.
Chapter 8. Replenishing what modernity took away. All right, team, let's do a quick audit of the room you're in right now.
chances are the temperature is set to a blissful and stable 21 degrees Celsius. You haven't had to exert yourself much more than walking to the kitchen for a snack. The air is filtered, the water is purified, and your biggest physical threat is probably tripping over a charging cable. We are, for all intents and purposes, like perfectly pampered pets living in a human-sized terrarium. We've used our magnificent brains to engineer a world that is comfortable, predictable, and incredibly safe. And we did it for a very good reason: to protect ourselves from the harsh realities of nature. The freezing cold, the scorching heat, the constant need to move to find food. The problem, as Dr. Means so brilliantly explains in Chapter 8, Replenishing What Modernity Took Away, is that our bodies were not designed for this life of luxurious ease. Our biology was forged in an environment of constant challenge and variation. And by removing these challenges, we've inadvertently deprived ourselves of the very inputs they need to be strong, resilient, and metabolically healthy. This chapter is about deliberately reintroducing a bit of that good stress back into our comfortable lives. It's about honoring our ancient hardware in a modern world. It's, in a sense, rewilding ourselves. 1. The power of movement, not just exercise. Let's be clear. When we talk about movement, most people think about going to the gym for an hour, smashing a workout, then sitting completely still for the other 23 hours of the day. That's a very modern and, frankly, weird way to move. For 99.9% of human history, movement wasn't an activity we scheduled. It was a constant. We were always walking, squatting, lifting, carrying, and fidgeting. This constant low-level motion is what our bodies expect. Dr. Means talks about the importance of NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's the fancy scientific term for all the calories you burn just from living your life. Walking to the office, doing chores, tapping your foot while you're editing a video. Modern life has systematically destroyed our NEAT. We sit in cars to drive to offices where we sit in ergonomic chairs for 8 hours. This constant stillness is a metabolic disaster. It's like leaving a sports car in the garage to rest. The lesson? The goal isn't just to have an intense workout session. It's to weave movement back into the fabric of your day. Take walking meetings, park further away from the grocery store entrance, get a standing desk, do some squats while the kettle boils. Think of your body like a flowing river, not a stagnant pond. 2. Turn the temperature dial, hot and cold therapy. Our ancestors didn't have central heating and air conditioning. They were exposed to the elements. This constant temperature variation was a workout for our cells. When we get cold, our bodies have to fire up the furnace to generate heat, a process that activates our metabolism. When we get hot, our bodies kick in cooling mechanisms that also have profound health benefits. We now live in a thermoneutral bubble. This constant comfort makes our cellular machinery lazy. The lesson? Deliberately step outside your thermal comfort zone. Cold exposure? You don't have to jump into a frozen lake unless that's your vibe. End your daily shower with 30 to 60 seconds of pure cold water. It feels horrible for the first 10 seconds, and then it feels incredible. It's a fantastic jolt to your system that can improve insulin sensitivity and resilience. Heat exposure? Regular sauna use has been shown to have amazing cardiovascular and metabolic benefits. It's a good stress that makes your body stronger. 3. Lighten your toxic load. This isn't about being paranoid and living in a bubble. It's about being a mindful consumer. Our ancient bodies had to deal with natural toxins, for sure, but they were never exposed to the sheer volume of synthetic chemicals we are today in our cleaning products, our skincare, our food packaging, hello plastics, and our water. These endocrine-disrupting chemicals can interfere with our hormones and place an extra burden on our mitochondria. The lesson? Start with the low-hanging fruit. Read the labels on your personal care products. If you can't pronounce the ingredients, maybe look for a simpler alternative. Switch to basic natural cleaning supplies like vinegar and baking soda where you can. Drink filtered water and avoid storing your food and drinks in plastic containers. The ultimate takeaway from this chapter is that to achieve peak health, we have to stop seeing all stress as bad. Our bodies don't get stronger from constant comfort. They get stronger from being challenged and then given time to recover. By intentionally reintroducing these ancient practices, constant movement, temperature variation, and a cleaner environment, we can build a body that isn't just surviving in the modern world, but is truly thriving. It's about building a robust, anti-fragile system that is ready for anything.
Chapter 9, Fearlessness, the highest level of good energy. All right, team, we have covered a lot of ground. We've talked about what to eat, when to eat, how to move, how to sleep, and even how to shower. We've become the CEOs of our health, amateur data scientists with our own blood work, and respectful students of our ancient biology. We've built this incredible foundation for a physically vibrant and resilient body. If this were a video game, we've collected all the gear, maxed out our physical stats, and filled our health bar to 100%. We should be invincible, right? But then you get an email from your boss with the subject line, "Urgent, let's chat." Or you get into a silly argument with your partner. Or you're lying in bed at 3 a.m. and your brain decides it's the perfect time to replay that embarrassing thing you said in a meeting 7 years ago. Suddenly, that full health bar doesn't feel so full anymore. Your heart starts racing, your stomach churns, and you can almost feel your energy draining away like a phone battery with a faulty app running in the background. This is the final crucial boss level of our journey. Chapter 9, Fearlessness, the highest level of good energy, addresses the elephant in the room, our minds. It makes the profound case that you can have the most metabolically perfect body on the planet, but if your mind is in a state of chronic stress, anxiety, and fear, you are leaving an astonishing amount of good energy on the table. The saber-toothed tiger in your inbox. For the longest time, I thought of stress as a purely psychological thing, a mindset issue, a weakness even, something to be powered through with sheer grit and another espresso. But Dr. Means connects the dots in a way that is utterly terrifying and weirdly empowering. Our bodies have a built-in, ancient, and incredibly effective threat response system, often called the fight or flight response. When our ancestors saw a saber-toothed tiger, this system would flood the body with hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Cortisol's job was brilliant. It would immediately dump a ton of sugar into the bloodstream for quick energy, increase blood pressure, and shut down non-essential functions like digestion and immunity so you could either fight the tiger or, more likely, run away really, really fast. It was a short-term, life-saving system. Here's the problem. Your body's stress response system can't tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an angry email from your client. It can't distinguish between a life-threatening famine and the anxiety of seeing your ex's happy holiday photos on Instagram. To your body, a threat is a threat. So when we live in a state of chronic, low-grade stress, deadlines, traffic, financial worries, an endless news cycle of doom, we are drip-feeding ourselves cortisol 24/7. That sugar that cortisol dumps into your blood, it has nowhere to go. You're not running from a tiger, you're sitting at your desk. This leads directly to insulin resistance. The accompanying low-grade alarm bell ringing throughout your body, that is chronic inflammation. Does that sound familiar? Our mental state can single-handedly activate the nasty trifecta of bad energy. Stress isn't just in your head, it is a full-body metabolic event. The antidote: training your mind for resilience. Okay, so we can't eliminate all stress from our lives. We can't all just quit our jobs and go live in a monastery, tempting as it sounds sometimes. So what's the play? The central message of this chapter is that just like we can train our bodies in the gym, we can train our minds to become more resilient to stress. We can shorten the half-life of a stressful event. Instead of letting that angry email ruin your entire day, you can train your mind to process it, learn from it, and return to a state of calm in minutes. How? Dr. Means highlights two of the most powerful evidence-based tools we have: mindfulness and meditation. Think of this as doing push-ups for your prefrontal cortex, the calm, rational CEO part of your brain. Regular mindfulness practice helps you create a little bit of space between a trigger, the scary email, and your reaction. You learn to observe your anxious thoughts without necessarily becoming them. It's the superpower of not taking your own brain's drama so seriously. Gratitude. This might sound a bit fluffy, but the science is robust. Practicing gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift your brain out of a threat-based scarcity mindset and into a more positive state. It's a cognitive reframing exercise. When you're actively thinking about what's going right, it's very difficult for your brain to simultaneously freak out about what might go wrong. The ultimate goal here is to cultivate what Dr. Means calls fearlessness. This isn't about being a reckless adrenaline junkie. It's about freedom. It's freedom from the chronic low-grade anxiety that quietly sabotages your metabolism, robs you of your creativity, and drains your vitality. A fearless mindset is the true pinnacle of good energy. It's the state where your physical vitality is matched by your psychological resilience. It's the final piece of the puzzle that allows you to take all that amazing cellular energy you've cultivated and actually direct it toward living a bold, intentional, and meaningful life. And that, my friends, is a goal worth every single ounce of effort.
Part 3, the good energy plan. All right, team, let's talk about the graveyard of good intentions. We've all got one. It's that metaphorical corner of our minds where the abandoned gym memberships, the half-read nonfiction books, and the dusty kettlebells live. It's where our grand New Year's resolutions go to die a quiet, lonely death around the third week of January. We've read the previous chapters. We are intellectually fired up. We are ready for good energy. We know what to do. But knowledge is not the bottleneck for most of us. The real challenge is implementation. It's the messy, real-world business of turning all this amazing information into an actual, lasting habit. This is a problem I am obsessed with. How do you build systems for change that actually stick? How do you avoid the classic trap of going all in for 72 hours, burning out, and then finding yourself face down in a bucket of ice cream declaring the whole thing a failure? This, my friends, is why part 3 of Dr. Means' book, The Good Energy Plan, is pure genius. She understands that you can't just sprint a marathon. This isn't a restrictive, miserable, white-knuckle challenge. It is a structured 4-week onboarding process to a better way of living. It's designed not for perfection, but for progress. It's a masterclass in sustainable habit formation. Think of it as the perfectly designed tutorial level in a video game, one that gently introduces you to new skills and mechanics until by the end you're playing like a pro without even realizing how much you've learned. Let's break down the system. The philosophy: building a system, not just exerting willpower. Before we dive into the weeks, you have to understand the core principle. This plan is engineered to minimize friction and maximize sustainability. It's not about using up your finite reserves of willpower. It's about gradually changing your environment and your defaults so that making the good energy choice becomes the easy choice. Week 1, the audit and the easy wins. The journey doesn't start with a grueling workout or a restrictive fast. It starts with a simple, powerful act of self-reflection and assessment. You can't get to where you're going if you don't know where you are. The goal is to gather your baseline data and eliminate the most obvious energy vampires from your life. Actionable steps: assess your why. You'll start by actually writing down why you want more energy. What would you do with it? Getting clear on your motivation is the fuel for the whole journey. The pantry purge. This is incredibly satisfying. You'll go through your kitchen and systematically remove the unholy trinity we talked about: refined sugars, grains, and seed oils. You're not depriving yourself, you're creating an environment where it's easier to succeed. Focus on one meal. This is key. The plan doesn't ask you to be perfect from day one. It asks you to focus on making just one meal a day, say breakfast, a perfect good energy plate. Master that one meal. That's a win. Week 2, laying the foundational bricks. Now that you've cleared the debris, it's time to start building. Week 2 is about embedding the core habits of good energy eating and respecting your circadian rhythm. The goal is to normalize the good energy plate for most meals and begin syncing with your circadian rhythm. Actionable steps: the good energy plate for most meals. You'll aim to apply the protein, veggies, fat template to most of your meals now that you've got the hang of it. It starts to become your new automatic default. The morning sunlight. Introduce the non-negotiable habit of getting 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight within the first hour of waking. It's a simple, free, and ridiculously powerful way to set your biological clock for the day. The digital sunset. You'll implement a digital sunset 90 minutes before bed. All screens off. This is a game changer for sleep quality. Week 3, introducing the good stresses. With your nutritional and circadian foundations in place, your body is now ready for the next level. Week 3 is about reintroducing the ancestral good stresses that build resilience. The goal is to start strengthening your system with movement and temperature. Actionable steps: focus on NEAT. Instead of worrying about a gym routine, you'll focus on increasing your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Your goal might be as simple as hitting 8,000 steps a day or taking a 10-minute walk after every meal. The cold shower finish. You'll experiment with ending your daily shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water. This builds mental and metabolic resilience. Mindfulness practice. Introduce a simple 5-minute daily meditation or gratitude practice to begin training your psychological resilience. Week 4, integration and the long game. The final week is about solidifying these changes and creating a strategy to make them last a lifetime. It's about moving from a plan to a lifestyle. The goal is to create a sustainable, flexible system that works for your real life. Actionable steps: reflect and personalize. You'll look back on the last 3 weeks. What felt amazing? What was difficult? The goal is to tweak the system to fit you, not force yourself to fit the system. The 80-20 rule. You'll internalize that this isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. If you're nailing this 80% of the time, you're winning. This gives you the grace and flexibility to enjoy a friend's birthday cake without feeling like you failed. Plan for the future. You'll think about how to navigate social events, travel, and busy weeks. You'll create a plan for when life inevitably gets in the way. This 4-week plan is the ultimate antidote to the graveyard of good intentions. It's not a radical overhaul, it's a gentle, intelligent, and sustainable upgrade to your life's operating system. By the end, you don't just have a list of new habits, you have a new foundation for a lifetime of metabolic health and boundless good energy.
Conclusion. All right, team, we've reached the final section of the book, and if you're anything like me, this is where the rubber really meets the road. We've explored the profound, paradigm-shifting ideas. We've laid out the logical, actionable 4-week plan. But there's one final massive hurdle that trips up almost everyone when they try to change the way they eat: the sad desk lunch. You know what I'm talking about. It's the bland, steamed broccoli and the dry, unseasoned chicken breast that you dutifully packed. You eat it while staring at your screen, and every single bite feels like a punishment.
It's the flavorless embodiment of being healthy, and it is utterly, soul-crushingly depressing. Meanwhile, your colleague is demolishing a delicious-smelling burrito, and you start to think, is this really worth it? This is the point where most well-intentioned health journeys go to die, not from a lack of knowledge or willpower, but from a sheer lack of joy. We are fundamentally wired to seek pleasure, and if healthy means boring and miserable, we're not going to stick with it for long. This is why Part 4, Good Energy Recipes, is not just an appendix or an afterthought. It is the crucial final piece of the system. It's the part that ensures this new lifestyle isn't just sustainable, but is actually more enjoyable than the way you were eating before. From friction to flow. Dr. Means knows that the biggest barrier to a home-cooked healthy meal is activation energy. It's the friction of having to think, okay, I need to eat. What on earth do I make that fits these principles and won't taste like cardboard? That single moment of uncertainty is where we lose the battle. It's where the takeaway apps on our phone whisper sweet nothings in our ear and win. This recipe section is designed to obliterate that friction. It's a curated library of delicious, easy-to-make meals that you can turn to without a second thought. It removes decision fatigue. You don't have to wonder if a meal is good energy compliant. It's a given. Your only job is to pick the one that sounds most delicious and follow the simple steps. These aren't recipes for professional chefs. They are templates for real people living busy lives. You'll find things like 10-minute power lunches. Think vibrant, satisfying salads that are nothing like the sad desk lunch. We're talking salads with rich, creamy avocado dressings, crunchy nuts, and flavorful proteins that actually keep you full all afternoon. Dinners that you can set it and forget it, hearty, slow-cooked stews and simple tray bakes that you can throw together in minutes and let the oven do all the work. Blood sugar balancing smoothies, smoothies that aren't sugar bombs in disguise, but are packed with protein, healthy fats, and fiber to give you clean, stable energy for hours. The genius is that every single recipe is a practical, real-world expression of the Good Energy Plate template. You'll intuitively start to see how the principles of protein, veggies, fat come together to create a meal that is both metabolically brilliant and genuinely delicious. A final thought? The upgrade to Good Energy OS. So where do we go from here? In essence, Good Energy is a complete paradigm shift in how we approach our well-being. We've spent our whole lives trying to manage the countless apps on our phone. An app for skin health, another for mental clarity, another for weight management, without ever realizing that the underlying operating system was buggy, outdated, and crashing. This book has given us the chance to install a brand new one, Good Energy OS. It's an operating system built on the fundamental principle of cellular energy. By focusing on that one core process, all the other apps in your life, your focus, your mood, your physical performance, your long-term health, start to run smoothly and efficiently, almost by magic. You've learned to stop being a passive patient and start being the CEO of your own health. You've become a data detective, using your own body signals to make informed decisions. You've moved beyond the confusing diet wars and adopted a simple foundational system for nourishing yourself. And now you have a toolkit of delicious recipes to make it all effortless. The prize at the end of this journey isn't just the absence of disease. It's not just about managing symptoms. The real prize is the presence of a powerful, vibrant vitality. It's waking up in the morning feeling genuinely rested and excited for the day. It's having the mental clarity to do your best work and the physical stamina to enjoy your life to the fullest. This is your invitation to move beyond the shallow world of symptom management and cultivate a life of boundless, fearless, good energy. And that, my friends, is an upgrade worth everything.